Hi, this is David Consumer again. I am going to show you how to use soundfont in Ray poketrack. So I really like SF2 files. You can convert other sound packs and things like that to them if you need to, but they're self-contained like samplers that have all kinds of settings and um, you know volume envelopes and effects and all kinds of other things like built in. And so they're really great for like kind of like the entire drums, the entire instrument set for like a tracker sort of thing. A MIDI plus a sound font sort of became, in a way, it became kind of the standard for making, like game like soundtracks or whatever. So it's sort of like sort of came after the tracker a bit. It's not an exact thing, but it's it kind of fits in the same category. Some hardware can even now this doesn't do that, but some hardware can even directly use these things. And so when you play like standard MIDI, it'll end up using the sound font instead, and that means that you can use SF2 files on really low end hardware. So like I said, this isn't exactly that. This is like a different thing, but the idea here is that we can load a sound font and then process it as if it was any other kind of instrument. So here, if we find SF2 and then we choose our file, I've got it here. So this SF2 file, inside it has a bunch of presets that are instruments, right, that make it, it's a standard MIDI set, so it has pretty much like a whole orchestra, and it has a bunch of weird stuff too. But the default is piano on general MIDI, so that's what we hear here. Now I'll have this playing, and maybe I'll make it a little more So we have this sound font, and you can change whatever whatever's being played, and you can also sequence this if you want, similar to what we did earlier with the drum kit, or sequencing any effect basically. So if you listen to these other instruments, it's got like 127 of them in this one file. So there, I'm jumping by 10. I'm jumping through the file, so you can kind of get a feel of how many instruments there are. But there's 127 in this particular file. Now, the way that external files work with Ray poketrack is when you save your song, you have to include the other files. So you have to, like, if you have a SF2, they can be really big. They can be like megs of size. So you need to include it with your file, and everything's relative. So if you're working on a bunch of music, save your song in one folder, and then inside that same folder, save your sound fonts and your samples and things like that, and it should all work pretty much flawlessly. I thought about including them inside the file, but there's different levels of like compression on different formats, and overall. It's not super efficient to be able to like pull things out of the file. Like it could be compressed or it could not be compressed. It could have like issues with that. Also, the files end up like huge, even though the actual recorded song files for Ray poketrack are pretty small. It's binary data. It's like a finite number of tracks, that kind of thing. And so anyway, it seemed like the best compromise for both things, right? So you can use whatever you want, but you got to put it in a relative path to the song. It should be like near it, in a folder or something. And I think this is a common workflow. Like if you have all your songs in one folder, you could put these things in separate folders. If you use a sound font with a Ray poketrack song, you could put it in the same folder. Like you could separate things by however you want, but it should just be relative. So keep that in mind. And that's the basis of sound fonts. There's not really much more to it. You can find SF2 files all over. And again, you can make them too. I have converted newer formats that are maybe even better into SF2 just because I like that SF2 is like self-contained. So for example, like SFZ or Reactor or things like that, where you get a set of samples, you can pretty much always convert it. Maybe at some point I'll write some little converter programs to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, the basic idea is, SF2 is a great like central format. It's got compressed sound. It's got parameters. It's maybe not the best format in its entirety, but it is at least self-contained, and it does kind of work. Also, maybe at some point I'll add SFZ support directly. I don't think it would be that hard, honestly. So I could probably add other sampler formats if we want that. But this works for me because I have a bunch of SF2 files like laying around. So all right, well that's it. Have fun.